Hopefully you've taken a little bit of time to get in there and just experiment, dropping fields into the pivot table, dragging them out, seeing what you get based on where you drag the different fields. Now, I'm sure you've got some questions, right, about dragging fields into the specific areas and how Excel decided how it should be summarizing that data. And we're going to take a look at some of those questions and hopefully answer them right here for you. But I want to remind you, visit the Q&A board and ask your questions there as well, right? Myself, my team, we're there. We're going to be answering questions. So make sure you take advantage of that Q&A board as well. So saying that, let's jump into our next topic. Let's take a look at grouping data within your Excel pivot tables. So I'm going to remove my head off the screen here so we can see that full list there. Let's zap that and I'll be back. So right now I left off with the products along the top. Those are inside the type or the columns section. We've got the sales individuals inside the rows, and I've got the sales inside the value section. Now, I'm going to remove salesperson. I'm going to drag that out of there, and I'm going to put the month back into the rows section. I think this just is a little bit more fitting, a little bit more common to discuss grouping, although we could do something with sales individuals as well. So think about this. This is a nice looking table summarizing the total sales broken up by month and further broken up by the product, the type. Now, I'd like to group the months. Maybe I'm thinking quarters, right? I'd like to put January, February, March into its own group. I'd like to put April, May into its own group, and then November, December into its own group. And you notice that we're missing a couple of months there. But I'd like to group it by the quarters. So what we can do here is I can highlight January through March. That's what I want to group, those 3 months, okay, at least the initial group. With that selected, I can go up to my Pivot Table Analyze tab, and on that tab there is a section called Group. Now you'll notice that there's a few different options here for us to choose from. There is group selection, which is what I'm going to take advantage of. I want to be able to group this selection of data right here. And you're going to see when we do this, it actually creates 2 groups. We get a group for that selection, and it creates a group for all the non-selected entities as well, or values as well. We do have the on group, if you want to remove the group. And then we've got one here that's currently grayed out on mine for group field. And you'll notice it's got kind of a little calendar icon next to it. These months, technically, they are calendar values, right? They're month values, but it's not a complete date. If I had a complete date up there, then I could take advantage of this group field, and it would give me a load of options to be able to group those dates based off of. But once again, they're not true date values for me, or at least Excel is not recognizing them as true date values. So again, I select my first 3 values, Pivot Table Analyze, and I group selection. Whoop. There we go. So we've got our group 1 there. If I hit the little minus sign, whoop, groups it up. Got my 3 months when I expand it out, and so on. And I've got a group. I mentioned 2 groups. It actually grouped it 1 for each month, but we're going to fix that. So what I can do is I can grab April to May. That's going to be my second quarter. And I'll go back to Analyze, and I'll group selection. And I'm going to do the same thing for November to December, and I'll group that selection. So now I've got my 3 groups. They've defaulted them. They've given us some default names, group 1, 2, 3. I can change them if I click into there. Now, here's a question that I get asked quite a bit as well. How do you change the group names? You should be able to click into there and just type over the top of it. So I'll just say first quarter. Whoop, done. I'll drop down here. We'll say second quarter, and so on. So I just click into the cell, third, and I just type in the new group name. Now, I have got questions from users that say, I can't do it. It won't let me change the group name. Well, in that case, try clicking into the group, into the cell that contains it, go to the formula bar, top of the screen, and modify the name right there. Okay? Try that out if it doesn't allow you to do it directly inside of the cell. And now I've got my groups. I'll collapse those all up. Now I've got further summarized information based off of those groups. And the nice thing here is we can expand and collapse those groups. They are printable in whatever state you're bringing them into. So if I were to go to File, Print, I've got my first quarter data expanded, and then 2 and 3, second and third quarter are collapsed. Very cool, very cool. I think groups are pretty slick. This was all through just highlighting a group of cells and saying group the selection. You'll notice that inside the rows section, they've added a second month inside there, just representing the groups, and that's where it stores all the information. Now, let me show you one more method to create groups. And this one's going to be a little bit more just in tune with the drag and drop that we were doing with the fields. So I'm going to grab the month 2. That was our groups for quarters, and I'm going to drag that out of there. Let's just get back to months. So groups are gone. All right, so what I want to do now is, let's say I'm going to take months. I'm going to take the month out of there as well. I'm going to group this, still keeping the product or type along the top, the columns, and the sales inside the value section. I want to group it by region, and within each of the regions, I want to see the sales individuals. All right, so I'm going to grab region, and I'm going to drag that into the row section. So now we've got our total sales broken up by the type, further broken up by the region. Very slick. But then I'm going to grab salesperson, and I'm going to drag that into the row section, but I'm going to drag it down below the region, and I'll let go. So now we've created groups, a little more drag and drop now, based on existing fields. So we got Central, Lee and Watson are in Central. We get to see their sales. North has Parker, South has Poulin, and West has Bishop. What do you think? Drag and drop, right? If I decide, you know what, that's great, but maybe I want to swap them, right? Let's group through the top group as salesperson, and underneath there we'll do region. Okay? I could just drag salesperson up above region, and now I've got it broken up by region, and underneath there, or excuse me, broken up by salesperson, and then in each salesperson we've got the regions they work in. Now in this particular example file, each salesperson only works in a single region. But if they had worked in multiple regions, we would see that here. So probably best to put region back to the top. We get a little bit more breakdown utilizing that option. So try this out, grouping your data, right? Getting that data to be presented in report fashion, in summary fashion, but including some groups, whether they're manual, highlight, group the selection, or utilizing the fields to create inherent groups within that data. So try it out.